Sup goats, it's JOAT and welcome back to a new video. This is JOAT Plus of May 2022. For those who don't know what the series is all about, I quickly round up circa 11 EDM projects that I did not formally cover that dropped in the last month. I also hit y'all with some honorable mentions, even more music to check out, sink your teeth into in the back end of this vid. But without further ado, let's get into these projects, starting with this Aweminus AB. Oof, this shit grew on me like crazy. I thought both tunes were pretty decent at first, nothing too special, but I gave them 3 or 4 more listens a piece, and yeah, I mean, Aweminus is nothing to be messed with. The spacious, cavernous space his sound design sits in, the way he puts reverb to use in his mixes, all the sound design sweeps in the back of bro's mixes too. I don't think I'll ever get tired of his style. And I've touched on this before in the past in other videos, but I feel like he hit a second wind in 2020. And don't get me wrong, I've always respected his style, but there are only a handful of his older songs that I frequently return to, such as Flemoids and Pyramids. One of the rhythm goats, one of the greatest rhythm acts out. What can I say? Something Light's House Switch Up I didn't really like at first, but again, it just grew on me. Turbo Diesel's flow, just that idea generally is so fucking sick. Yeah, just 2 relentless rhythm bangers. Really good AB. Flix EP. I guess I was expecting a little more from this thing. Since it is Flix we're talking about, this EP does meet all the expectations for a solid rhythm EP. It's pretty varied new rhythm, sometimes tonal. It has a classic clunk to it. I mean, it is Flix. You do hear remnants of the classic rhythm sound somewhere in there, like production-wise. Yeah, all the songs meet the mark in terms of variation and structure and production, but I feel like they don't care to do anything interesting past that. And not that music has to be just crazy unique each and every time, but here on the CP, I'm just not 100% satisfied, I feel like, despite me liking what the tracks do. This kind of rhythm is great for the live setting, I feel like, where you can just turn your brain off and not be overly critical. It still is pretty good music at the end of the day. In the moment, just carefree shit. Yeah, just not much that's differentiating it from the average or slightly, ever so slightly above average new rhythm venture. It's just pretty plain. The final track, Flight, is an exception, kind of, it being a full melodic rhythm song. But the motif, again, is just too basic for my taste. I just get this feeling that I'll vibe for the first listen, but never return to the tune again. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the replay value of this EP is pretty low. The production's good, don't get me wrong, and the variation is solid, but just nothing all too special, really. I would expect more from somebody like Flix, but hey, that's me. Flume was like Porter Robinson to me a year ago. I don't know much at all about his music, but I can appreciate his contribution to especially melodic EDM. And a lot of people cite his stuff as being one of their inspirations, so I mean, he must have been good at some point in time. And yeah, this LP right here, it definitely consists of melodic pop EDM. The mainstream appeal is pretty blatant, but that doesn't always have to be a bad thing, though. I'm not saying it's bland just because it's mainstream. And yeah, overall, it is a pretty alright listen. There's some really cool highlights on this thing, I won't lie. The Quiet Bison collab, and I Can't Tell, for example. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, this is a experimental and summery blend of hybrid trap and future bass, I feel like. Pretty forward-thinking future bass at that. It's been a minute since I've seen future bass actually do something different than just basic supersaw shit, but I was pleasantly surprised to an extent. And yeah, this doesn't blow me away as much as Nurture did, for example, going back to that Porter Robinson comparison, because Nurture was my first formal intro to Porter's music. But I was still surprised, I mean, to a lesser extent, but it's cool to see EDM producers at the very top of the game still do their thing in a unique way. Yeah, I mean, melodically, sure, it's not for me all the way through, but some really cool textures, cool bass lines, cool ideas, and cool sounds across the board. It is commendable. And if you do like your melodic EDM, I suggest you check it out. I'm sure there's going to be something for you in it. Interesting EP from Leotrix here, in both positive and negative ways. First of all, let me touch on the elephant in the room. Yeah, the mixing is kind of iffy. The way the sounds sit in the soundscape is less than flattering at points. But musically, it sounds like Leotrix went in an even more cutesy direction than usual for his Monster Cat debut. As expected, I mean, bright, chirpy front leads, sparkly melodicity, staple Leotrix bass lines, but easily digestible for a more mainstream audience, that being Monster Cat. I could easily see that fan base, those stans, get into this. And outside of Papa Khan, this is some of the most mainstream appealing future rhythm I've heard for sure, but it still sounds unique. Now, the title track's first drop is way too lackadaisical for me, I feel like. The tune does pick up after that, though. And my favorite track on this thing, outside of Funny Face, of course, I still love that tune. It has to be Heart Tones. Motif is great, and the pacing is solid, just so cutesy, bro. And I also wanted to shout out Head Up, despite it having some pretty messy front sound design too. So yeah, I do like this a little more than his last EP, which frankly was pretty meh. Except Can't Sleep Alone at Night, I still love that track. This EP still isn't fully there for me for Leotrix's standards because of some of the mixing and ideas. Me having issues with some of them, but there's more than enough reason to return to this EP. It is cutesy and innocent, and yeah. And for real, props to him for releasing this kind of music on Monster Cat, not losing any of his originality, but still making something that he knows Monster Cat fans are gonna fuck with. Yeah. This Mad Dubz EP on Halcyon is not bad. It has some cool things going for it. The watery textures and futuristic sound design. All of this isn't future rhythm, actually. I consider it to be a futuristic hybrid of more classic leaning rhythm, new rhythm, and future rhythm. You get the whole package here. It perfectly encompasses the direction that rhythm has been moving in for the past 2 years too, while still paying homage to its classic sound at times. And my main gripe with this EP is the ideas, they don't sound too fleshed out. They just trail off with the drops, I feel like. And I know that rhythm does tend to be repetitive, and it's not as variant as other styles of dubstep, but here it's a little overdone, I'd say. This is especially the case with the melodic songs. It becomes pretty blatant there that they're not thoroughly fleshed out and developed. But again, I do like the sound of this thing. It's really fun to listen to the sounds and ideas on show. Wacky Slime's overly wacky sound design, Resonator's underlying resonant melodic touches, or Blem's ominous-esque synths. DN's motif is cool as hell. I fuck with it a lot. Dun 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 dun. And Bagnar I generally like too, with a little dissonant phone-on fills in the Ver midsection with some phone-on in there too. Cool combo of IDM and rhythm with some jazzy spice in there. I do feel like there's a lot to like about this EP. Every song as well is likable, but there's not a song here that I thoroughly love, for them just not resolving very well from a musical standpoint, in my opinion. Overall, the EP is cool though, and I feel like it appeals to all fans of any style of rhythm, so make sure to give it a listen if you're a rhythm head, even a classic rhythm head, what the fuck ever. I feel like you'd fuck with this. Ooh, Mentis II. This is kind of disappointing, I won't lie. Yet again, another heavy, predominantly tear-out compilation, spearheaded by the one and only Nimda. It's just this time the songs aren't really hitting. I remember Mentis I was great. Outside of like 2 misses, 2 skips, for me personally, I really liked every other song. And here, this time, I don't think there's a single song where I can say I thoroughly like it. This is pretty rough. I guess if I'm looking at favorites here, technically I'd be taking a look at the Nimda song or the Nexus song. They have a little more to offer than the rest here. But yeah, the rest of these tunes, unfortunately, I have to say range from meh to just underwhelming for me. I haven't listened to this compilation very much though, so it might just grow on me, but definitely a step down from Mentis 1, I have to say. Hopefully Mentis bounces back with something stronger next time around. I so bad want to enjoy Nosphere's music, please believe me. Like 70% of his stuff, there is obvious potential there. But for some reason, a lot of his songs, for me, just fall apart to some extent. Mainly because of execution, I feel like. So glad we don't get that overdone, chunky style on this EP like we did on, say, Polaris 12. It is something different, and this EP is pretty diverse, I won't lie. Still, it's okay, merely. I can't say I thoroughly enjoy it. Stabilizer features some cool, flavorful laser guns. Flow is sick, the non-drop sections are minimal, but done so well. Just, yeah, the song in itself is kind of redundant due to lack of variation. Humiliation, track 2, I think, is like Stabilizer, but more varied and rhythmy, grimy fucking mix. It's more of a personal preference thing that I don't thoroughly love this tune, but it still is solid. B&V has a cool set of sounds that are displayed, clean sustains and a front synth, more of a sound design flex than a cohesive song, but I will still give it props because it is cool, enjoyable to listen to an extent. Commander's kinda corny though, come on now. I do like the metallic stabs, but that one-shot choir, it feels so faux, dark, and sinister. I can't take it serious. And last but not least, Power is some pretty messy future rhythm. It is cutesy and has that staple futury chunkiness from Nosphere. It's unique enough for me to enjoy it. Another highlight with Humiliation. And yeah, I wanted to quickly cover every single track on here because I feel like they are worth talking about. They do deserve some recognition because of the genuinely good sounding ideas on here. Still, it's just the way Nosphere's music progresses that I'm not head over heels with. Do pray that I fuck with more of his stuff in the future because with some fine tuning, I feel like his music could be some of the most formidable in the underground. And I mean, bro is pretty versatile, so he could definitely make something work. New comp from Outsize here. And as I predicted, they did come into their own more since me covering Outsize Union Volume 1. That was like 9 or 10 months ago. Yeah, DJ Nom's curation and the production of the music has definitely gotten better since then. And sure, I do think there's still a ways to go before I can say that I've heard a thoroughly great Outsize compilation, but hey, I mean, it's baby steps, and I do like what Outsize put on show generally. A lot of melodic music on this compilation, especially color-based, so that might be the concept behind the Omphalos compilation series, more melodic shit, but there is some heavy shit here too, so I'm not exactly sure what differentiates this from the Union stuff. 100%, I definitely love more distinction between the different compilation series, so I know what to look for in each one. Outside of that, there are songs on here that I did like. And again, not the most original, unique sounding stuff, but like I said all those months ago, with time, Outsize and their main roster will come into their own and they will have a sound to push. So they're well on their way to do that. Yeah, quickly wanted to shout out this compilation right here. I know my viewer base has a lot of people that fuck with these type of songs and also love to support the underground, so make sure to check out this compilation. I'm sorry, but most of these songs sound way too similar. The lasery stab tear out headbang style, just so watered down for me. The cheesy pan snares every so often as well. I don't want to shed on this EP too hard, but this is the kind of so-called tear out I cannot get into. I feel like this kind of style is going to be the generic side of the subgenre. Tear out in the next 1 to 2 years if producers continue to dilute the style down like this. There's 2 exceptions in the middle of this EP that don't sound like the other tunes. I think it was Mosh and Rave Punk. But the former I feel like is just poorly mixed, abrasive bro step. No substance there really. That one's my least favorite actually. And the other tune, Rave Punk, with its tacky rave chords and pretty cool bass line. I'll give it that, but again, just so little substance, nothing supporting it. And yeah, like I said, the rest of the EP, mindless machine gun after machine gun, it gets very tiresome and fatiguing. A little sense of contrast or impact too, because it's just the same set of stabs beating down on your eardrums. I can't say I'm a fan. I'm not. I know a lot of underground tear-out producers go in this direction too, just machine gun bass after machine gun bass with subtle variation. If there's no sense of just release there, then it's not enjoyable, I'm sorry. For there to be an impact, there has to be the opposite of impact. For tear out to be impactful, it has to hit, and it can't consistently hit if it's always hitting, if that makes sense. Especially if it sounds bland, but yeah, don't like the CP. I don't know what it is, but I thought Reaper was a dubstep artist. He might be, but this is a whole ass drum and bass EP. And actually, apparently he's made predominantly drum and bass in the past, at least in the past year or two. But yeah, like I said, this LP is entirely D&B, just straight D&B, with the exception of like, what's it called, XLR8. I'm reading off my screen right now. But that could be considered halftime, which is close enough. Halftime is a subgenre of drum and bass. I found that out not even a year ago. But it does make sense. Essentially half sped drum and bass, but that's besides the point. Pretty decent D&B at that. I kind of see the appeal. It's pretty consistent all throughout. Mix of gritty, melodic, tonal, so it is pretty diverse. All go-to styles of drum and bass here. There are some songs that are more underwhelming than others, and of course there are songs that are more memorable than others as well. But overall, straightforward pacing, despite some ideas not being good as others. No momentum is lost, I'll say that much. And you gotta be doing something wrong if your drum and bass doesn't flow. Not saying that's like a given or anything, but I do expect that when it comes to drum and bass, and it's done well here. Yeah, this type of shit gets you amped, it gets you hype, it's great festival music, and for home listening, it's not too bad as well. Pretty in your face, catchy, stripped back D&B. It's alright, it's not too bad overall. This new Tech Genesis EP on Wacky of all labels. The sound of this thing doesn't really fit the label all too much as of right now, but I am glad that they're going in this direction. Tech is a prod who I've been keeping an eye on for a while now. I know bro supports the channel too, so shout out to him. He has this glossy, futuristic style he puts to very good use. I've included one or two of his songs in the Best Dubstep iteration as well. This EP is cool as fuck. Obvious rhythm inspiration in terms of structure and even some of the sounds, but the rest is pretty unique and forward thinking. Favorite has to be Pit Viper, but overall I found this EP to be really solid. I got into every single tune. If you're into that glossy new age style that Leotrix pioneered 2 or 3 years ago, I'm sure you'll enjoy this as well. The production is fresh as fuck, and it's very catchy too. Flows are rudimentary enough to be easily digestible, but it's still complex enough to be interesting. So big ups to him and the CP. I like it. All right, y'all, that concludes the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 projects I decided to cover for the month of May in the year of our Lord 2022. Honorable mentions right quick. I'm gonna put them up on the screen in 3, 2, 1. Right there. Feel free to pause the vid if you need more time. But the link to the playlist is also in the description box below. Same SoundCloud playlist as I use for my Best Dubstep of videos. First 12 tunes are the songs I feature in those vids, and the rest are just my honorable mentions. Songs taken from these projects I just covered and just general honorable mentions shit I found to be pretty cool. That dropped all throughout the month of May. But yeah, this has been your boy JOAT. Thank you all for watching. Check the description box for a 2022 favorites playlist of mine, all around EDM songs. If my thoughts on any of these projects pique your interest, make sure to go check them out as well. Support the producers if you enjoyed this vid. Obviously, make sure to follow my socials, join my Discord, follow my Twitter, as well as everything else for news and updates. And yeah, I'll see you on the next vid. Peace.